in Houston started in 1964. And the people who were invited to come came from the Cenacle. The Cenacle provided a list of women, and we met at a hotel. And as a result, Day One was formed, and there were over 30 members. We had like maybe 36 members. Father Steele was our moderator, so to speak, and he was the vocation director in our diocese. And he went to a conference in New Orleans and met Monsignor Voss and came back to Houston, and he's the one that wanted to start it in Houston. So he called the Cenacle. They provided the list, and then we went from there. We had our team leaders, so to speak, and they met once a month, as well as the community met once a month. And when we started out, we didn't meet in homes, we met in restaurants. And that went on for a long time, and then it got expensive to go to the restaurants. And so we started meeting in homes.
Father Steele wanted us to meet in restaurants where there were round tables. He was very big on the idea that at a round table, the community, the sharing would be vital. In the beginning, he did not want already formed groups to move into the Theresians. He wanted it spread out through the diocese. So there was a, quote, guide in the beginning that no more than 3 people from any parish could be members in the beginning. So if you were interested, you had to wait until there was expansion. But the early membership was made up of people from all over the diocese, but no more than 3 per parish, which really brought people together that had never known one another.
The purpose of Theresians at that time was to foster vocations to the religious life for women. And then in about 69, they changed it to all women. So up to that time, the sisters were our guests at our meetings. And then they started the Jericho meetings, which we invited a sister to tell her story about her vocation. And it kind of brought us closer to the sisters. And they loved coming into our homes and telling their story.
Leadership in those early years was a board of directors. The board took care of the business, and you didn't have business meetings at a community meeting. Now, if there was something that the community needed to be a part of for decision making, then it was brought before then. But the board took care of the business, so that did not take up your community meetings.
This is a poster showing all of our deceased members from day one, and it goes back to the very beginning, and we have a list of all the names. 2 are not there because they just recently died, and one of those very prominent members, this is from the newspaper, and it's Patsy Martin. And Patsy was a national president, and someone else that we haven't mentioned is Sister Patricia Mullen. She was a founder or a leader along with Monsignor Voss. And this shows a charter, the original charter of when Monsignor Voss chartered Day One in Houston. I would say milestones in the early days were that we brought women speakers to Houston, and this was open to anyone who was interested in hearing the speaker. The Day One Theresians were the first group to bring Sister Jose Hobday to Houston. We also brought a woman from Georgetown University, and her name was
Monica
Hellwig.
Oh, yeah.
But the first one we brought was a writer, and her name was Sidney Callahan.
In 1982, we hosted the international conference and brought Dom Helder Camará from Recife, Brazil, to be the keynote, and which drew a lot of the public. Mm-hmm. But it was a risk because he was under house arrest at the time. And I was kind of the devil's advocate on the committee because I just felt like we were going to need police protection and, you know, all this sort of stuff. But thanks to the persistence of Marty Braniff, who was a Theresian, that thanks to her not giving up. As a result of that conference, that's when Theresians really began to experience growth, and 3 communities developed after that experience.
I'm thinking on a personal basis, I regard myself as one of the newer ones in this group, even though I've been in it 15 years compared to many others. Pat Bruno, dear friend from early years, urged me for a long time to join Theresians. I used the excuse of I was working full time, my practice was too demanding, I just didn't have time for this. But underneath it all was that I don't like groups of women. I like women one-on-one, but groups of women historically have driven me crazy. Mothers clubs, soccer mothers, whatever. Anyway, Pat persisted and kept inviting me, and I actually attended 2 conventions before I ever came to a Theresians meeting. But when I did, I have experienced a group of women. I don't know if we bring out the best in each other or if it's just a phenomenal group of women or both, but I have never known and been involved with so many women that I feel very close to, at ease with, share values, faith, spirituality, and that has kept me in the group.
I had the same experience with Pat Bruno and Aurora Dreemeyer. They continued to invite me to come, and finally I decided I really need to either make up my mind, go with this group or not. Because I was very involved with the high school youth program in my parish, plus other stuff. So when I joined, I had the same experience that Marilyn had in the sense of the women, and a number of the women I knew from other experiences. But it was the programs and the quality of women. And what I have experienced in my 49 years as a Theresian is the fact that I have a sisterhood of women all over the world. And I think another thing that's important to remember about Theresians, someone carried each of us on their shoulders to be a member. Generally, it's not generally a practice where a member just off the street joins Theresians. It's through someone else. And I think that's the key. And I think you decide that you've made a commitment to be a part of this organization. The best part of being a Theresian is the sisterhood.
Yeah.
And that says it all.
Yeah, my best friends are Theresians. And the best part of all is that my daughter joined. And I would have never expected that, but I love it. I love it.
The best part of being a Theresian for me is the sisterhood and the joy and just the stories. I mean, these ladies, who's the luckiest girl in the room? Me.